live and all right. So I will introduce you. So hello everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce you to today's experts. Adam Peter Nielsen, the Chief Technology Officer at Novicell, a leading digital consultancy firm with offices across Europe. So Adam is also a member of the Mac Alliance Tech Council, a global organization advocating for open modular tech ecosystems that enhance flexibility and innovation for businesses. As one of the key voices in promoting Mac principles, Adam is at the forefront of digital transformation, helping companies break free from rigid, outdated systems. Additionally, Adam is also a proud member, or actually a ambassador of Evolve in Denmark, where he champions collaboration and growth within our community. Let's also not forget to thank our session sponsor, AirMeet, for making this gathering possible. So, Adam, welcome. As usual, I always start our sessions with the journey. So, how did we end up here? How did we get here?
How did we get here? I think we met at a conference a while back, but besides that,
That's
uh,
right. That's right.
besides that, I would say I've been playing and having fun with tech for the better part of a couple of it feels like centuries, but decades. Started just being very curious about anything that goes on in a computer, like pretty much anyone else on this call, I'm sure. And spent the first part of my career just building stuff, implementing coding, building, testing, doing stuff. Mainly e-commerce, web, and integrations, but initially focused very much on customer experience and making sure that we got some good traffic, some leads, some deals closed. That was the kind of the marketing heavy foundation of attracting the right people to the right digital platform and the right digital business model for our clients. I've always worked in an agency context. If you look at my LinkedIn, it's almost 22 years at Novicell. I co-founded it back in the day, and that has been a fun journey from 4 people to 400, and now a little bit less. But yeah, that's about it. After having built a lot, I started to consult a lot, because what happens if you when you when you tackle multiple different use cases and businesses within the industry, you learn a lot. So I switched over to focusing a lot on architecture, because that seemed to be the problem, is how to architect solutions that are not revolutionary but evolutionary, because everyone has a budget, they have opex, they have capex, and they can't just spend an unlimited amount of cash to run their digital business. So figuring out how you can either slowly or fast grow a digital infrastructure is typically figuring out what processes are behind and what data drives everything. So that has been the focus for the past 10 plus years, is the mix of different business models and business cases mixed with architecture. That's also why we at Novicell focus on many different platforms, many different technologies, and many different business verticals, because then we can learn from one or the other, and can see when trends are happening. So we serve travel, we serve leisure, we serve manufacturers, we serve pharma, we do B2B, we do B2C, we do B2G, we do be whatever you want to be, which of course is challenging to understand so many different business models and so many routes to market. But what it also does is it makes us very good generalists at seeing where can we apply knowledge learned from one industry to the other. So that's pretty much the journey. Having fun with that, spending most of my time advising clients or advising colleagues on how to solve tech opportunities. Yep.
Yeah, let's speak then about your leadership. Can you actually see me, because there's something wrong with my camera? No, that's fine.
Left the building.
We'll figure.
We've seen you before. That's okay.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, now I can see something happened there. But let's speak about the key milestones in your professional journey and that have shaped your approach to digital transformation and technology leadership. That means you're saying that you spend a considerable amount of time advising your team and your customers. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sorry?
Tell us a bit about that, about your leadership style. What how you shape that over the years.
Yeah. Well, coming from a technical background is really quite beneficial when you're trying to solve tech issues, first of all. So having done data models, having implemented, having a lot of experience fighting SQL or whatever it is, or forgetting a comma or a dot somewhere, and debugging does bring a lot of patience to the table, but also understanding of why things doesn't work. So applying that to how we manage and lead our teams is quite important. And it sounds very simple, very stupid simple, but and also a bit confusing, I know. But the whole idea here is that we know when to focus on the detail and when to focus on the bigger picture. So spending a rigorous maybe too much time figuring out what level are we talking at right now. Are we talking business stakeholders and strategy? Are we talking solution design? Are we talking customer experience, or are we down in data and integrations? So figuring out what level are we talking about and how do we relay information and requirements and business opportunities on all levels. So when a developer knows that this client needs this integration to work, or the creative know that the reason for creating landing pages in a certain way is because we've figured out that the Scandinavian market or the Portuguese or whatever needs a certain thing for when they're selling a specific product. Having that holistic approach and sharing knowledge between business model design, platforms, customer experience, and technology is what we try to relay a lot. So simply put, keep everyone on board and have a common goal. But just more details on that is of course focusing first on strategy, then on customer experience, tech and platforms, and then data and processes. So moving through all of that at a leisurely pace and keeping the right people informed at the right time is the crux to make it happen. If we don't do that, we're very inefficient and we make a lot of mistakes. So that's my main thing to the table, is to keep people informed on what the goals are, what are we trying to achieve, and ask the question, if e-commerce is the answer, what were the questions, and what are the opportunities, what are the risks, and how can we go from there? So leadership wise, we have some cross-functional centers of excellence that are self-organizing. We have 7, 8, 9 teams right now, I think. They change in size all the time. And figuring out who has the role of tech lead, for instance, and get them together is super important. And knowledge share war stories. We spend more time on that than having leadership say, this is the direction, this is the strategy, because we know if we know how to solve real problems and we share how we do that, then we can deliver faster. Instead of having a big 5-year strategy that says composable is awesome, let's do more of that. So we focus on getting the right people together at the right time, and actually sharing what they're doing. That's I think that's the biggest differentiator. Is having an efficient structure for that. But it's not a structure.
Yeah.
It's self-organizing,
Yeah.
and that also means you can tap in and out of meetings. We keep them very short. So, for instance, I'm hosting internally our architecture check-in between teams and technologies, and that's a monthly thing of only 30 minutes. But we know each other quite well, and then if we have to deep dive into some things, it's in a smaller setting, a smaller circle. And it's actually subject matter experts that work with that every day, and then share behind the scenes afterwards. But being in touch really works for us. Leadership style wise, otherwise we try to adapt everything to the individuals. It's super difficult when you're 300-400 people, but we do have people that work in different time zones. Of course, we do have people that are in the same time zone, but some prefer to start working at 11, where others start working at 8. So adapting to the physical stuff and the setting up the right mental space for them to be efficient and do things they like is quite important. And then I would say, focus more on building a pipeline of technology transformation with our clients and with our teams, so they know that if they're playing around with something that's maybe a bit old and boring, we really let them know when that will change, and we let clients know that they need to update or change or rewrite or refactor their code bases, because then we can keep our employees happy and they can keep their stuff running and up to date and secure. So mixing the whole digital roadmap of our clients with how our teams work and what they want to work with is another aspect of it. Yeah.
No, very interesting. I think we will have to run without camera, but you can still hear me, and soon
We've seen your pretty face before, so that's good.
exactly. Adam, so before we speak about composability, I think there's one thing that you're talking about here that's quite interesting. How you lead and how Novicell works, work style and leadership style. Leadership style. So the first thing I like to ask you is about remote work. There's a big trend now for companies to say, have to go back to the office, and typically technology people have it easier, and I'm not in that sense. They, because you're saying, I see multiple reasons for that. I think it's really challenging, typically find good developers, and so my notion or my perception is that developers, they don't necessarily, or tech companies don't necessarily require developers to go back to the office, or if they do, they won't be there as present as commercial and marketing teams and project teams and things as such. So the first thing I like to ask you is more like in that regard. And then the other thing is, then we'll talk about customers and how do you see digital maturity within your customers. Sometimes you probably have to you have customers that might think that they know a lot when they actually don't, and how do you guys go about that?
Okay, let's keep the remote work short then. You can get my version of it. You need to know each other, so you need to meet once in a while. That's the way I see it. You can't you need to do some social networking off of social networks, and that just means it's much easier to work together if you've actually met. That's what we experience and what we see, and that's our way of looking at it. Once you're solving problems, and defining how to solve problems, it's typically easier to be together physically, but it doesn't have to be that way if you know each other well or have had that introduction. And that goes colleagues, clients, whatever. partners. Once we've met and we know how tall everyone is, that can be surprising sometimes. And,
I agree. It's so fun.
and we know each other just a little bit. I think it's fine to work remote as long as the job is being done as we agreed. I don't see why you need to be at an office specifically. If you only are at the office once in a while, we do make sure that everyone has a table that's theirs. So it's not, so they feel like it is a workplace they can come into. So we don't have free seating or whatever. There is, this is your chair, this is your monitor, this is your keyboard and mouse, and you don't have to bring your own. It's already there and it's your own and it's hooked up. So a lot of our guys and gals, when they're solving tasks, they like to have a quiet environment. So a lot of people will go into the problem solving together and then split up to solve the tasks that needs to be done in order to actually get to the end of the problem. But yeah, I think problem solving is good together. Task solving is good apart in general.
All right, good man. And now let's talk about digital maturity. So when it comes to your customers, because I think it's a good opportunity now to speak about composability, and we start with the customer, right? Composable is a big topic nowadays. Composability, but is that for everyone? Like, because I had one day, like, a guy who was working for a big company in Denmark, and he was the CEO. He did some research in Google, and he said, this is the platform we have to go with. I just need you to do some research, but this is the platform. I was like, how do you know, man? You have no technical background. What are you talking? And me neither. So let's start with the customer, because they hear some buzzwords. They think it's awesome, you know? So I think Gartner is really good at it, and other institutes at coining terms. But is it for everyone? Let's start there, and challenging the customer as well, educating the customer.
Let's maybe start with the platform buzz, because
Right.
what we see with all our partners, almost all of them, and all tech vendors out there, they want to position themselves as the sun in the solar system, or the Milky Way in the universe, the centerpiece of everything. It's very much outside in communication, and you go on to every site there is, they will let you know that they're the answer you've been looking for. They can solve all of your problems and everything is fine and dandy. The thing is, you could find two complementary products, go onto their websites, they will say they're the best at everything. So how do you choose? And you usually choose because you know that they've delivered for others, you get some confirmation. But the thing is, the devil is typically in the detail, and that's how you orchestrate and architect everything. That's how you make these different tools work together, and that's where composability and specifically interoperability of different platforms comes in. So I've spent the good part of a very good chunk of the last 2 years working in the Mac Alliance Tech Council on specifically interoperability and reference architectures, and doing guidance to how you actually interoperate and how you make different components interoperate in a composable or Mac ecosystem. So Mac is a wonderful movement, and it's a wonderful concept, and it's really something that's being pushed out there. It can also really be done wrong, and sadly we do see some examples of that, where you take these wonderful, good software as a service platforms, and then you tie them together like a monolith. And then you get something that's actually much worse, because now instead of having one monolith and one vendor, you have maybe five, and they're stitched together. So what we spend a lot of time on from a technical perspective is to let people know how to actually build a composable ecosystem for e-commerce or self-service or whatever you're trying to build, whatever you're trying to achieve. So we spend a lot of time there. But the thing is composability and composable new? I would say no. It's been there forever. every client we have some sort of a composable ecosystem. The thing is, at what level do you compose? So, for instance, we rarely see a client that has everything digital in one system. It does happen occasionally, but it's very, very rare. And when it happens, it's typically something they've been building for 10 years, and now they're stuck in a world of hurt of customization. So let's take a classic medium-sized company that are maybe in 1 or 2 countries and sell to 10. They sell, why not, pencils. So they will likely have an enterprise resource planning system. They will have product information management. They have all sorts of product lifecycle management stuff, and they have sourcing platforms. They have all sorts of things in order to make their business tick. Those are connected. They're composed together, but the way it's done, it's typically point to point or 2 databases that talks to each other at night, or batch jobs or whatever, something legacy. Where the modern composable world is more comprised of components that are MAC. So that means microservices, that means APIs or event streams, and that means that they're cloud native and software as a service. And I think the biggest thing with composable and MAC is actually the cloud native and software as a service part. Because if you have something that's software as a service, you cannot modify the code base. So it's a very precise and wonderful hammer that modifies your behavior. Oh, I have hey, I have these going on. That's always fun. Let's see if it works. Yay, it does. Why not? Anyhow, so what we typically look at when we design or rebuild digital ecosystems is how can we strangle old monolith implementations and turn them into something that's more composable. And again, coming back to the software as a service part, the wonderful thing is you cannot modify the code base. So you are actually forced to have your business logic outside of some very well thought out platforms, but you just need to configure them and implement them the right way. And is composable for everyone? Yes, it is. But to what degree do you compose? Do you compose your digital ecosystem of 5 different platforms, or do you want to do something very specific? And what we typically ask our clients is about their digital business model complexity. So if you have multiple channels, multiple markets, multiple business models, multiple segments, multiple ways of delivering your goods, multiple ways of serving a lot of different channels, then your multiplication is quite high. And you have a lot of different customer journeys you need to cater to. You have a lot of different ways of operating. You have a lot of data flowing around and a lot of processes. And then we look at the business scale. So is it a huge company or a small one? And then the third thing we then look at is how can we reduce complexity? Because the older the company is, or the faster it has grown, the more complexity has been thrown in there. So, and that's because complexity appeals to most humans because we think it's fun. We like to solve problems. We like to be creative. And the more skilled people you have that are good at solving problems, they will find ways to design new problems to solve. And if you don't ask them to remove things, you will just have something that turns into a big monster that's slow moving. I know Peter's likely on the call, and he can attest to some things in his organization where decisions were made or has to be made at some point in most organizations of how do we reduce business model complexity. Because the more, for instance, let's take something, the more different vendors you have, or the more different pricing models you have, or the more markets you have, if they're specific and the way your routes to market are very specific, or your price models are very specific, then you need different logic for each of those. And then it's of course much more difficult to implement a new solution, or transition from one e-com platform to another, or one product information system, or one ERP or order management thing, or build a new app, because you need to cater to all those different things. So when we start projects, and when we go to our clients, and when we look at customer engagement, we always try to find the root cause of why they haven't done what they're trying to achieve already. And that's usually because they have too much complexity. So we try to remove that and talk to them about, okay, can we either remove it or try without? and say, what markets or what channels or what customer segments can we actually attack in a different way to bypass all the legacy of past decisions and indecisions about removing complexity, because because that's just super difficult. So that's pretty much what we do before we start projects. Not every time, but whenever we can, because we just know then it's much easier to compose. So going on to that, that's about figuring out where you really want to do something special and where you want to go standard. So if you want your technology to be your business enabler, or and just find something off the shelf that kind of fits 80-90% of what you're trying to do, and roll with that, and then maybe use humans, or don't do the rest. It's not a popular thing, but it's good to talk about, right? Because digital is changing so fast, so you really want to get it to market quite decently fast, because otherwise someone else will do it. So all of this boils down to how you design your business models, and how you then apply technology principles, or different technologies, and tie them together, but not point to point tie them together, but maybe make sure that you can recompose and switch out your e-com or your whatever platform, your point of sale system, whenever it's needed. So if that point of sale system is directly integrated with 10 other things, then it's got to be super difficult and risky to change it. But if it's using modern principles of implementing, then it's APIs or message queues in between, or services that will handle that horizontal integration layers that you have data flow on, and then you have, it's much easier to have good separation of concerns with both business and tech. So yeah, I've done a lot of white papers, honestly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I will try to ask you a question. Let's see how this works. For example, you mentioned what the organization is trying to accomplish versus what they've tried. And I'm looking always at, so for example, I've always provided services for tech vendors in the world of commerce, which means that typically their customers are retailers. It could be B2B companies as well. But the word in the street last year was profitability. Therefore, LinkedIn was very sexy, but it wasn't interesting. And then when I look at retailers, right? So if they have to be profitable, they can't have, or maybe they can, have large in-house teams, engineering teams, and stuff like that, because that costs, right? That costs way more than people selling. It's way more specialized and expensive to have that sort of specialization in-house. And where I'm trying to get is composability one of the solutions for that problem? And in that sense, also, where do you see technology moving forward? In the sense that, are we going to need, of course, with the rise of AI and all of that, less coding in-house and less customization and less? Does it make sense where
Yes,
I'm getting?
I think what you're trying to get at is how do you get the most bang for the buck out of your tech investment?
You see, nothing like someone
if you're a smaller team, let's say you're a sales and marketing and channel team that drives a digital presence, that drives a digital property, and you are 10 people doing it, or 20, and your competitors are 100. How can you scale that up? There are different things that can be scaled up quite easily. You mentioned the two-letter acronym A and I, which is, of course, artificial intelligence, but it's also allocate investment. these days. So whenever those
Very good.
just throw cash at it and hope it works. But a lot of things actually work for that, and it's primarily the text-based language models are quite decent right now. So what we can do, of course, is translate and do a lot of tedious stuff extremely fast. As many of us has seen on Google, the real Google is gone. It's just the search engine optimization is done by robots talking to robots, which is fun. But the thing is, for many of our clients, it's about getting product to market. And if they can reduce time to market in any significant way, then it's a good tool. So if you have 10 markets and it used to take you 10 weeks to get translations and photos and stuff done to get your product to market, your pen or pencil or whatever it is, now you can do it in a couple of minutes and just validate that it's okay. So it's accepting that your content or your things are 80 to 90% as good as they used to be, or maybe even better in some cases. If you can accept that, then you can also achieve quite amazing things with very little budget at very, very fast. So that's a good example to apply technology for that. And what we've seen the past 2 or 3 years is that we've done a lot of small, bespoke, custom, whatever you call it, implementations where language processing and LLMs have been used, but now it's baked into pretty much all of the platforms out there. We knew this because technology, of course, consolidates over time. So if there's a big business benefit, all the vendors will try to put that extra piece of technology into their platform in order to be competitive, of course. So a lot of the AI projects we've done the past 2, 3, 4 years, they're now not done. It's embedded within the platforms that are out there. So if you have a composable ecosystem and you're able to quickly change and re-platform some of your components, then you can find the best of breed component for a specific thing. So example is search.
Mhm.
As you know, we've done hundreds upon hundreds of e-com projects. They all have search and they all have product recommendation. And the bigger part of projects, if we go back 3, 4 years, they were building search, filtering, and product recommendation because the platforms out there were not up to scratch. They were not good enough. So we had to do a lot of custom work in order to make them work. And we had to do a lot of product data transformation and ingestion in order to just build a good repository of product data and category data. But now we can actually say, okay, if we used to spend 2,000 hours building search 4 years ago, we can, in some cases, have the same and better in 100 hours now, done end-to-end implemented. And so if you have a landscape where you have data readily available and it's easy for you to move data around in a secure, compliant fashion, then you can easily onboard new things. And that's kind of the promise of composability, because if you need to retrofit and you need to pull the plugs 20 different places in order to replace your search engine, then you can't really get that competitive advantage of a better and cheaper search engine fast. So again, that goes back to the composability of not just the business, but also the technology. That's what we're trying to do anyhow. It works quite well.
Yeah. Adam, we have people who want to ask you questions, and I think we are on 34 minutes. I'll ask just my final question, which is, actually, I started asking this question, and I think I saw something from Jeff Bezos talking about this, which is interesting. Like, instead of focusing on what changes, let's focus on what doesn't change or what won't change. The principles. I mean, because then we have control, right? Over these things. And so, in your opinion, like, what won't change? What are the immutable principles of commerce, in your opinion, that won't change in the next or with the next trend? You know, like people are still gonna wear clothes. You know, we're gonna eat.
Well, you have to pay and you have to get your stuff. That's about
right.
it. If we do first principles on it, that's pretty much it. And then you have to have some availability. So don't under promise, don't under deliver on that promise of having stock, or at least having it available for you to sell. Those three things are always going to be there. But I think if you add just a teeny bit of complexity on that, it's figuring out where you're differentiating yourself. So if are you differentiating for a specific niche in the market, or do you have a specific service where you can have your own Trojan horse? For instance, I have a client that I spent 2 hours with earlier today, and they're very, very good at handling regulatory requirements down to product level, to customer and product level. It's on the e-commerce conference in October. We have a case there. So they have a lot of dynamics on actually putting regulatory customer specific requirements down to the product level. That's very specific, and that's very, very difficult for someone else to go in and do that in a sensible way. So that's a base they really want to defend, and that's their differentiator in the market. All the other things you can do around their products and ways of selling them, yeah, you could buy them on Alibaba, or you could buy them on Amazon, or you could buy them wherever. So figuring out where you're special. And speaking about Amazon, if you notice, a simple thing about most of their products, or all of their products, is that the web, not the Amazon Web Services, is that they're very simple. There are very few variants. You can't configure them. So if you want to buy a pencil, go to Amazon. But if you want to buy a sofa or a bed where you can configure the fabric, the wood, the size, everything, they don't really have configurable products, because that's very difficult. So if you want to do some niche stuff, you do something that's difficult to do. And everything that's easy to do that you can find out there, the checkout flow, the basic filtering, search, whatever, go do that, but maybe build your own product configurator, because that's where you can differentiate, for instance. And you just need to find those. And that product configurator will typically outlive the e-commerce engine by a factor of 3 or 4, because it's very specific, and it will be there for a long time. And it's also a unique selling point that you can do that. So that's an example.
Sweet. All right, I'll have the
They will not
members
be there
jump in.
forever, because AI
Mhm.
and things, they can build pretty decent product
Yeah,
configurations. I've
yeah.
played around with it decent amount, so that very complex things that took us hundreds of hours can be done in a matter of minutes today, which is
Yeah.
wonderful. And we can focus
Yeah.
on getting stuff
Mhm.
done instead of building
Mhm.
teams things.
Yeah, we'll speak about this very soon, but I'll have the members jumping in. The first one is Hawan. So Hawan, just a second. Let me just see how I can get you here. So Hawan is from Brazil, living in the US. He has an agency, quite a bit of clients there as well. Just a moment. Why is it that I can? Gustavo, can you get them on stage, please? Hawan is the first one. Let's see. Yeah. Technology. Actually, the person behind the technology. It's not, you know, já tá no gatilho. Yeah. Sorry.
Now
Just a
Gustavo is
moment.
there. That's good.
Don't worry. Don't worry, Gustavo. I think I managed. Yes. Here we are. Hawan will be there in a bit. Should be joining in a bit.
Otherwise, we can take another question. That's fine. There's some in the chat, I see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good. See, you know more of the software than I do nowadays.
No, Hawan is here now.
Yeah. Go ahead, Hawan.
Far away.
Okay. Adam, really, really great. It's been fantastic hearing about all your experience, and I love many things that you said about people and technology. I totally agree with you. I was taking a look in your website and I saw something. I did some notes because I really like it when you say people first approach. I totally agree with you that in the long term, the technology becomes a commodity because everyone has the access to the same technology. Yeah, but the people that you build your team, no one can clone that one, at least not now yet.
We'll see.
Yeah. So I really want to hear a little bit more about that, your vision about people. You said that you had around 200 people. We have today around 50, so it's a long way to grow. And also, if you had yet tried, or if you already have it, any SaaS, or if you are only working as service, or if you have like products. So because we are launching some products, and we are used to service, so it's been a bit challenging.
Yeah, so let's start with that one because we love building stuff, and we think product many times because we see, oh, this is awesome. We built this thing for this client, and in our default contracts, it actually states that we can reuse everything we do unless they specifically ask us not to. So that's pretty nice. So let's roll up a product and go to market and everything. But having a product organization versus a project organization is vastly different. So a product needs care, it needs marketing, it needs attention to detail, it needs that you don't actually listen to all your clients' requirements, but you build what you really think is what they ask for and not what they actually ask for. So I think listening to David Heinemeier Hansen and Jason Fried would be the best in order to talk to people that really understand how to do product development and reduce complexity. They're amazing. But otherwise, I would say it's freaking difficult to keep a product organization and a project organization within the same company, and especially within the same people. Because what happens is you get a new deadline. So what do you choose? Do you choose the money you will get if you reach the deadline, or do you choose to invest in your product? You will always choose the customer and the deadline because they're screaming. They're saying, "Oh, I need this tomorrow. Oh, yeah, I'll give you more money if I can have it tomorrow." So that's the default behavior. So you need to split up the team, the financials, everything in two, and then you'll succeed. Then you did Shopify stuff, right?
Yep.
Then you know the bold guys. That's a very good example. It's a huge company. I think there are a lot of people and are doing a lot of different things specifically on Shopify and other big companies and other things. They started out as an agency and then just said, oh, let's build a couple of things. But they killed the agency off as quickly as possible. And I've seen a lot of these transitions where we have a couple of Danish companies I'm quite close to where they started by having maybe 20 good clients and say, okay, we've built the same thing for these 20 clients. Let's try to build a product. They were very open about it and said, we're going to build this product. So during the next couple of years, once we get this ball running, you're going to need to find a new partner to maintain this thing we've done with you. That's our path. That's our strategy. We've done 2 or 3 startups out of Novicell the past couple of years. So we say, okay, that's fine. Roll with it. Have the IP. See how far you can get. So we do it like that. We don't keep them in house because then they're in the same office, and then you can go over and say, oh, I have this problem. Can you just assist for a couple of days? Can I buy some of your devs to fix this issue because I know they're good? And then you just destroy that product company. So I would keep it very separate if I were to do that. Name it something else, put them in another part of the building, in another office maybe. And the culture part, people, keep them interested, keep them happy. Well, you can't keep everyone forever. We have a lot of people that have been at Novicell for plus 10 years. And it's all about meeting expectations and figuring out what they want to do with their professional career and their life, and making sure that it kind of works for them. So we have a lot of people that have transitioned between different roles they want to try something else, or then they dislike the way we manage projects and are a good project manager. And then we say, okay, how should we manage projects? I want to do it like this. And then we say, well, go try. If you might be right and everyone else is wrong, have a go at it and we'll see who fails. And so if this is the better way, go try it. So we have a lot of different tests going on. From the technical perspective, I did a technology model in 2011 that we follow. There are 5 basic rules that everyone has to be onboarded in, and one is for anything critical. For instance, you can't use new tech. So you're not allowed to use the newest funky front-end framework for something that's business critical for your clients or for ourselves, for that matter. Some basic rules. I can send them to you if you want. DM me on whatever. Yeah, and we use the same with our clients.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Hawan. Now, next in line is Barbara. So
Or
Barbara,
Barbie.
Barbie.
Yeah.
Barbie. That's
It
right.
happens. As long as it's not baby, we're cool.
No.
It happens.
You
Believe
told us to call
it
you
happened
Barbie.
before. Bobby's fine. Sorry. So I was thinking that I'm also doing this MBA on AI and data science and this kind of stuff. And during this class, there was this woman showing this very famous technology that everyone knows, and everyone knows it's a good one. But it got me thinking, like, maybe she's giving this class for so long that how can I be sure that she has been kept like updated on her knowledge on software?
Mhm.
So, and I realized, like, every event I go, I just see 20 new tools just coming, like, and you could think like AI tools, but no, sometimes something that there's like 1,000 doing already, but they see some kind of market for them to start there. And honestly, they all have clients. It's not like any of them starts and don't have any opportunity. So my question for you is, how do you keep on track with every new technology, and how do you avoid like bias because you already know a software so well that you're used to refer all that or used to implement that?
Yeah. So we want to be third movers on implementation. So we're quite curious. We play around with a lot of different things, but we want to see 2 others fail first with anything new. And that goes for technologies, platforms, frameworks, whatever. We have, and then sometimes we choose to build something or play around with something, or a client comes to us and say, I think this is the right thing. And then we have a look at it and say, oh, it looks decent. Or have you seen this other thing instead? But we want to be third movers. And when we go into specific platforms or technologies that we haven't heard of ourselves or that we're curious about, we want to see a market demand. So we don't jump onto a technology ship that's not in demand. So I would like to see that it has been mentioned in 2 RFPs, or 2 clients have come to us and said, this might be the new thing. Because I've seen so much amazing, wonderful tech out there that just doesn't have traction and demand. And then it's quite risky for us to jump on that train because we are not big enough to create the demand. We're not big enough to take the risk. No one else is. So I would prefer to have seen someone else fail with it or have some successful implementations. And that's, it may be maybe a bit conservative, but it's also because we're actually the custodians of many of our clients' technology strategy. They come to us and ask, what should we do? And they often come to us and say, I've seen this new shiny thing. And then we ask them, yes, nice shiny thing. Can you mention 3 others who were successful with it? And can we have a talk with them? So that's the same I do. I have a lot of inbound email with someone writing me and say, oh, I made a wonderful thing. Do you want to use it? Maybe. So I pretty much just ask, can you give me contact info of 2 other like me that have had success with your product? I would love to talk to them. So I just phone up my competitors and say, I can see you've done some stuff with this. Was it good for you, or how was it? And then sometimes they'll say, I'm not going to tell you, and then I know it was good. So yeah, that's how I do it anyhow, and it makes it quite simple, because then you can sift through everything. And then there's of course the explorative stuff. We have devs that sit around, Google for stuff or ask an AI for stuff, whatever, play around with it. But it needs to be stable in order for us to use it in real solutions with our clients. That's the way we just approach it.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Barbara. Now we have on the backstage, we have Eddie, and right in the sequence, we have Christoph. By the way, Eddie, he used to be at SAP, running social and search in Japan, APAC. So he's building something radically different. Eddie, the stage is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Carlos. And I'm sorry, I couldn't seem to be able to turn on my camera. I think it's some browser setting. Yeah, but thank you so much. I recently joined Evolve Commerce Club, and Adam, it's so awesome to hear talk about Mac. So I'm a big fan of Mac. So we built Composable for search. So search for composable commerce, and it's on microservices, is API, all API, and it's on the cloud, as well as it's headless. And I'm so excited when you talk about how Amazon product is so simple. However, it doesn't have a lot of semantics that would describe a product, right? So the problem that we try to solve with our platform is how can we create an object as a decentralized object, sits in the cloud, full on Mac, API, so that consumed by anybody, anywhere. So at the end of the day, if you have a product or services, you can exist on anywhere and everywhere instead of on a specific platform.
Omnipresent. Ooh, who wouldn't want that? Yes.
Yes. So it's like, why would exist on a few platform if you could be on anywhere and everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So what we try to do is we take an image and then we embed it with our semantic model. And the semantic layer sits with us as API, but the product link, which is the product page itself, sits with whoever who owns that product. So we are not recreating anything. So you have a website, engulfed it with our semantic layer, and anybody can find it and distribute it as their own search engine. Or we also have a search bar that you can put on your website or on anybody website without any JavaScript or any annoying pop-up. Yeah, so
using web components, I presume.
Yeah, so it's a React application for the UX part of it. And the backend Java application, we call that Visual Semantic Platform. And the semantic layer is built on ontology, so all knowledge graph, and it's specific knowledge graph. So somebody can search for, I just want to see all products that is fish in the domain of fishing, and other people might see fish in the domain of exotic fish, and so on, right? And we're integrating advanced AI into this, and so that when the picture is sent to AI, then AI would embed it with all of the information. But as you know, visual recognition can only go that far because you can only look at the visible part of it, not the invisible part of it, like coffee, why it's good for digestion, right? So that's what I try to convince my wife why I drink so much coffee every day. Right? And so that's what we try to solve with this cement. Yeah, exactly. Awesome, man. So I got to do this. Yeah. Oh, it doesn't work because the camera is not working. Yeah, I try to do the lofting. And yeah, so then we have what we call a cognition engine that combine AI embedding with semantic model. So graph plus embedding, plus also some people website would have PDF and HTML, right? So all of them, we can ingest it through AI and produce concepts that are relevant for this particular client or this particular domain, and it can be used repeatedly. So we got 2 patents and 5 pending on the semantic model.
Cool.
Yeah, where you don't have to go through the creation of RDF through a protege, right? But can just use like a so-called like almost like a prompt, like subject, predicate, object, and the predicate is operator that describe that. Yeah, so I'm just wondering, like what's your thoughts around this kind of decentralized semantic, decentralized object that can exist anywhere, that can be consumed by anybody through API?
Well, I think one is API, and if you look at pretty much any solution out there, there are some very specific examples that have been around for 20 years where this is actually happening. And the best example is payment.
Right.
It's not something where they do what you do because it sounds freaking awesome. Context aware search and recommendation engine would typically be what people are searching for, and then they should get your stuff instead. So the thing is, go to market for what you've just described.
Right.
You can't explain it like that because I think I understand what you've done.
Yes.
But a marketeer or a techie, to understand that, you need to figure out how to sell it. I think.
Cool.
Because the tech sounds amazing. I'm curious about the data model, of course, and you would need something like the Neo4j data model or database to do something.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. Our graph is stored in an RDF.
Oh, it's the same then.
Yeah,
kind of the same. Okay, cool. But that's a technical detail. We are not diving down there. I would say yes, it makes sense, but you need to figure out what the specific use cases are, and then in order to get on there, it's like image generation, or it's like cookie information services. All the things you can just plug in there quite easily. Yes, it's a very good business case, and you're solving something that's quite difficult to solve for a lot of vendors, but they want it in there. It's like, don't you want OpenAI within your e-commerce engine, or within your web content management system, or within your contract management system, for that matter, to assist you in writing content? And you can do something similar with this. So yes, there is a big ask for specific services like that. The thing is, you need to show the value, and you need to show the business case. That's typically what I see. You need to say, okay, if you apply this, you get that. It's that simple, stupid.
Cool.
So build your case and your use cases. That's first. Then the tech will be eaten, I'm sure.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much. I really
That's just my thinking. So the tech sounds wonderful. I've seen so much wonderful tech, but it's about adoption. And in order to be adopted or adapted, you need your marketing to be on point.
Right. Yeah. I'm nodding my head all the way. Yeah. So basically, just be very specific in the use cases and demonstrate, or at least illustrate and describe how the technology can fit into the use case and make tangible benefits out of it. Right.
Yeah, for sure. Because it sounds cool. I'd love to have a spin.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'll connect with you on LinkedIn, and we can speak further if that's cool with you.
Let's do that, Eddie.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Adam. I'm just gonna give the time to the next people. I think they're waiting on the.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Eddie. So Christoph was supposed to join us on stage, but I think he's using his phone. So I'll show his questions here on stage.
Oh, he just says, I'm here.
Yeah. Oh, he's here.
I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here.
Sorry. He's at the backstage. No, he can't join us. Yeah, I know, Chris, you're here, but you can't join us on stage because I think you're using your phone.
Post the question again. I'll.
Yeah, just a moment.
Yeah.
So the question is, I'm working mostly with. Correct.
Okay, so I am working mostly with direct-to-consumer medium-sized brand as a Shopify agency. What I see in at the market is that the technology is just an element. Of course, all customers convert to Shopify because it's quite cheap compared to other open source platforms. I tend to disagree with that. Then you haven't done the full business case. Shopify is awesome if you fit the bill. We do Shopify at Novicell as well. We do other things as well. So it really depends on whether you need Plus or not. So we have a lot of cases where you really need to calculate your basket size, and so going down to the business case, your basket size and your order average order size, and then get in touch with Shopify to get the right deal. If you really want to get that platform, because we have done cases where Shopify is the cheapest in year one versus something else where you have to invest more in composing the solution, more composable setup, where then that actually turns out to be much cheaper at year 2, 3, 4. So I think it's typically, if you have to go for Shopify payments, that actually destroys some of the business cases. So I disagree with Shopify always being cheapest. It depends on the time horizon. So if you look at 1 year, then it wins every time. But if you look at 3 years, it loses half of the time. That being said, Shopify is freaking awesome, and what they're doing with their APIs and opening a lot of that and making it more composable is super cool. I think they are taking their mouths a little bit too full and saying that they're ready for business to business stuff. There's still a way to go, but they're moving quite fast. So no, it's not always the best solution for direct to consumer stuff.
But can you hear me now? Because I tried to enter. Okay, thank you so much. I was at the phone, but because I was for a quick walk after the lunch, so that is why I just moved to the office, so I can speak here. Okay, yeah, definitely. I will definitely agree with you that Shopify is not always for everyone. I was asking about it because currently there is a huge discussion between this, I would say, some Shopify agency owners about the headless architecture. And if the brands need it, and if it's still something cool or trendy, and the discussion and the result is most of the time that most of the brands do not need the headless, and it's
I agree.
Definitely everything they need is just simply Shopify Plus, and that's all. But on the other hand, I would like to thank you also about for this meeting, and there were a lot of different things that was quite interesting for me. I have one more quick question about what do you think will be the next steps in the kind of, I would say, development of an software houses or an agencies? Because from my perspective, and as we are now growing our agency, it's still really small businesses, 10 people now, but we found out that currently with our customers, we are working mostly as consultants, not as a software house. So we are using Shopify and Shopify Plus. It's really simple technology. It's like for stupid people to do it. I mean, like, you don't have to have a huge knowledge about the tech to do the stuff. So of course we have the team of great developers, but on the other hand, it's really simple platform. But we are working mostly as a consultant. We are working mostly on the side of architecture of the e-commerce, branding, UX, UI, how it looks, how it feels, how it converts, how the functionalities inside of the house, inside of the store are working for the customer. So that's my perspective. And when we are thinking about the strategy and we are thinking about the future of our company, we are thinking more like to be a beauty consulting house in the space of e-commerce, maybe in the space of Shopify as an environment, because it's an environment, not only the platform itself, but because it's also the marketplace of the solutions. So that's my perspective. What do you think about it? Because you're from the tech world, I'm from the UX part. I do not know anything about the technology. I don't care. I think about the UX and how the customer buy. So you're more from the technology part. So my question is, how do you see the market in the next future? Where are the agencies, software houses are going? More to be like kind of consulting boutiques, I would say, or the mass agencies?
It really depends on where you come from. If you come from implementing front end on top of Shopify, then you likely have to look for something other to do because it is so easy if that's where you position yourself. But one thing is for stuff to be easy. The other is, does your client have the resources to do it? They may be capable of doing it, but do they have the time or the resources to actually master it? Because it might be easy, but you also have to do it right. And you need to have the resources. And they don't need full-time resources to do it. Maybe they only need 1 or 2 people, but maybe you have more that can serve that. So I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing that something is easy to do, because you still need to do it. You still need to invest the time, and you still need to configure. So a lot of the platforms that we use every day is more configuration than code.
Yeah, definitely.
Low code, no code, whatever code. So there is that. But the sheer amount of things that has to be done means that until robots can do much more in a couple of years, oh, sorry, I need to turn this off. There we go. There are still a lot of jobs to be done. We do a lot of consulting and a lot of implementation, so it's billable, both of them. So same, we have a Shopify team of, I don't know how many they are, but 15, 20 people. So what we do on Shopify is pretty much the same you do, but only 3 of them actually do the Shopify. 3 or 4 of them actually do Shopify front-end stuff. The rest, they integrate Shopify with other systems. So that's working further down into the ecosystem of tech, because that's where we work a lot as well. It's making sure order management works, integrating to a point of sale system that's not Shopify's, integrating to different markets, having good version control of custom front ends, all that stuff. So it depends on how you utilize a platform, and something like Shopify and BigCommerce, which are 2 of the platforms we use, you can take the vanilla version of that software as a service platform and run with it for a lot of clients. Once they grow and have bigger requirements, have more specificity and more complexity, they need people that can lift that for them as well. So we have seen many Shopify clients just jump onto it, and then they turn over a couple of million, and then all of a sudden they turn over 100, and then they have all sorts of issues they didn't have when they were a smaller company. So then we assist doing that.
Good,
so,
great.
But that's your business strategy, man. You're gonna have to figure it out. There are many routes to doing this. You just need to figure out where you're good and where you want to be.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very nice. So, Christoph, thanks. Adam, thank you very much. Again, another incredible talk. This was your turn. I was laughing here because you said, we talk about this in private. Well, but okay, you said you need to prove your cases, and now we're building the community as well. I remember you told us about, but it's true, and I agree. Yeah. Don't be the first to jump in. I actually
never
agree.
First mover.
Yeah. It's smart. It's smart. I'm actually reading originals, and he's talking about procrastinating and Adam Grant, and not necessarily being the first mover. How much advantage you can actually take of that, and just by learning and observing what's happening, right? With new technologies or new concepts in general. Adam, this was very, very cool. I want to thank you for your time, for the time shared and the knowledge shared here with our audience. They can always, of course, if you're an Evolve Club member, reach out directly. Adam is on WhatsApp or LinkedIn. And Adam, for those who are watching on LinkedIn, the best way to reach out and learn more about yourself and Novicell?
Yep. LinkedIn. Far away.
Perfect. So that was it. Thank you all, and we'll see you next week. Just pause the session now.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.